It's an emergency. A major arrest is about to happen. You're involved, open it quickly. Archangel Michael says. The siren is not on the street yet, but you can feel it humming through the air like a wire pulled tight. A move is being made behind doors you cannot see, papers sliding, handcuffs weighed in a palm that already knows its target. Your name sits on a folder it does not belong to, and a shadow smiles because they believe their trick is complete. You woke today with a tremor in your chest and a weight on your tongue that tasted like metal. That feeling was the first knock, the early warning pressed into your spirit before any call came. You were shown the shape of the storm not to scare you, but to position you. There is a person who pretended to clap when you won and prayed for your fall when you turned around. They carried pieces of your story in a bag like stolen jewelry and tried to sell it in the dark. Now they run out of road because truth moves faster than a thief. A document sits on a desk with your initials copied by a hand that cannot duplicate your breath. Numbers were shifted, dates bent, and a signature laid down like a trap set for a lion. They forget that lions see at night and step over snares with quiet power. A phone that never belonged to you sends a message with your name in its mouth. A voice note edited in fragments tries to play you as a villain in a scene you never entered. The editor believes the cut will hold, but the raw file is already in safer hands. The arrest that is coming will land on the one who planned to push you into it. They walked in a circle and called it a straight line, not realizing the circle closes behind them. They prepared a chair for you in a cold room, and now they sit in it themselves. You feel the minutes trying to sprint, but you will not be late for your victory. Your steps are guided with a calm that confuses the ones who expect you to panic. You move the way a tide moves, silent and absolute. A message reaches you from an unexpected helper who keeps their eyes open when others sleep. They bring a photo, a timestamp, and an address that stitches the pattern together. You see the thread and you start pulling. The thread leads to a storage box rented with cash in the name you never used. Inside, your story is folded in pages that smell like dust and betrayal. You do not cry over paper, you redeem it with proof. There is a camera outside a door that never blinks, and it already watched the exchange. The footage catches the handoff, the smirk, the envelope that bulged with lies. Frames do not lie when truth is ready to speak. You were chosen to survive this because your endurance was not built for pretty days. You have walked through rooms where the windows were painted black and still found the handle. That same hand now opens a better door. Someone close to the culprit starts to shake because their conscience wakes up. They send you a text that looks small but carries the weight of a confession. You screenshot it, you archive it, you let it breathe like a witness. The plan against you required silence, and your voice has already broken that seal. You call a name that matters, and the line clicks with attention. You speak clearly, you speak steadily, you speak like a river that never negotiates with rocks. A car moves through the city with purpose, and the driver knows exactly where to stop. Another car waits across the street with an engine that purrs like patience. Clock hands align with footsteps, and doors open with authority. You stand where you are told to stand, not in fear, but in alignment. Your shoulders relax because the weight is no longer yours to carry. You breathe in like someone who understands the end of a long tunnel. On a table sits the pen they used to forge you, and that pen now points back at its owner. Ink that tried to drown you becomes the river that carries their truth into the light. Witnesses step forward one by one like stars arriving at dusk. The culprit keeps a smile that starts to crack at the corners. They ask for water, but dryness lives in plans built on deception. They reach for excuses while the room grows smaller around them. You do not gloat, you grow. You do not curse, you climb. You do not break, you build. While this was set against you, it still became a bridge for your name to stand taller. People who listen to lies now hear the correction with ears that stay open. Reputation returns to you like a bird that knows its home. Someone once said you were too gentle to survive sharp edges. They forgot that gentleness is a blade that never rusts when truth holds it. You cut through fog and leave clean air behind you. Calls go out to places where records sleep, and old files wake up with your defense inside them. An email buried in a forgotten thread rises to the top with a date that dissolves the accusation. A log entry that seemed ordinary turns extraordinary because timing is an artist. Footsteps echo in the hallway like drums announcing change. A badge flashes, a door swings, and the room cools by 10 degrees. Names are read with care, and the right one answers. Hands that reached for your downfall now feel the cold ring of consequence. Papers that once lied for them now speak against them. The mask clatters to the floor and refuses to be picked up. You are asked to bring your calm and you bring it like a lantern. You show them what you received, what you knew, and when you knew it. Every piece falls into place like rain finding the ocean. The major arrest that was whispered becomes a headline that does not include you as prey. You are mentioned as the one who stood, the one who held steady, the one who did not bow to fear. Your name is cleaned in public the way it was dirted in private. The people who looked at you with doubt now look at you with respect. The room that once felt heavy becomes a stage where your strength is obvious. You walk out without noise and still leave thunder behind. You return to your life with a steadiness that feels like a new spine. Doors that were shut by gossip open on their own hinges. Opportunities wait like loyal dogs who recognized your scent all along. You release the resentment because carrying it would be the last chain they left on you. You forgive without inviting darkness back to dinner. You bless yourself with distance and let silence do the rest. You commit to records, to receipts, to straight lines drawn in daylight. You treat your name like a garden and pull weeds as soon as they appear. You plant boundaries like trees and enjoy the shade they give. There is a message tucked into this battle that reads like a map. It says you are not fragile, you are focused. It says you do not shatter, you shift. Your sleep tonight tastes different from last night. It tastes like a room aired out, curtains pulled wide, and sun finding every corner. It tastes like breath that no longer carries thunder. Those who stood with you can now stand taller because standing with truth elevates everyone. You thank them with eyes that understand loyalty. You move forward with a circle that is smaller and stronger. The culprit rides in a car that does not belong to them, singing a song they did not plan to learn. They look out the window for a hero who never arrives to save a lie. They meet the quiet of consequence and find no chair in it. Your future steps need no dark corners. Your future words need no defense counsel. Your future days carry the perfume of cleared skies. A message arrives from the same helper who started the turn of the tide. They say the system worked today because you did not run from it. They say your evidence was a lighthouse that stayed switched on. You archive the proof and then you archive the fear. You keep the wisdom and release the rest like birds that do not belong in cages. You write the final line on this chapter and close the book with a soft palm. Tonight, you lock your door and it sounds like a promise. You lay your head down and it feels like a blessing. You wake tomorrow and it looks like a horizon. The ones who hoped your name would sink hear it ring with clarity. They realize that truth is not loud, it is persistent. They realize that you are not temporary, you are tested. A gentle power settles over your day like a shawl draped across steady shoulders. It does not ask for applause, it asks for direction. You give it a path and it walks beside you. The story that began with an emergency ends with authority restored. The energy that tried to stain you becomes ink in your story of survival. The final echo is not of sirens, but of peace. You remain unshaken, unbent, and undeniably cleared. You step into the next room with quiet triumph. You carry your name like a banner that never falls. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. It's an emergency. A major arrest is about to happen. You're involved, open it quickly. Archangel Michael says. The night that seemed finished opens like a second door, and inside it your calm is waiting for you. Truth sits on the table like a bright instrument, sharp enough to cut the last threads of doubt. You are not the problem, you are the proof. A courier arrives with a sealed envelope that feels heavier than paper. Inside are timestamps, geotags, and a chain of custody that moves like a straight line. Your name appears only where it belongs, and everywhere else it dissolves like ink in rain. There is a building on the edge of the city where whispers tried to organize themselves. They gathered around a whiteboard that never loved a lie and tried to draw your downfall. The marker squeaked, and every crooked arrow now points back to the hands that held it. The investigator who paid attention connects the last dot with a quiet breath. They see the copy and paste, the metadata mismatch, the sudden change of font. They nod because patterns always confess when you watch them long enough. You are ushered into a room that respects evidence more than volume. Faces around you carry the expression of people who have finally found the thread. You speak in short lines because truth rarely needs long paragraphs to stand. Your patience becomes an elegant weapon, and it never misses its mark. You hold your posture the way a lighthouse holds its light. You do not chase waves, you let ships come home. The person who tried to frame you burns through their last good excuse. They remember a detail wrong, and the room hears the stumble. It lands like a bell ringing in a quiet chapel, unmistakable and final. A digital trail spreads across a screen like constellations no one can rearrange. The login times write a schedule that rejects their alibi without raising its voice. The server clock becomes the soft judge no bribe can move. You are asked to verify a single signature that never met your hand. You look at the stroke order, the pressure, the unnatural curve at the end. Your mouth stays gentle, and the word you say is no. The chair opposite yours begins to creak under the weight of fear. The culprit taps their foot in a rhythm that betrays their calm. Even the air seems to reconsider its loyalty to them. 4 witnesses step forward in sequence, each one like a stepping stone across a river. Their stories never touch, yet they agree in all the ways that matter. Agreement becomes a bridge, and you cross it without looking back. Your phone lights up with a message that carries the last missing piece. A simple line, a forwarded invoice, a precise time, a familiar location. It slides into the timeline like a final puzzle piece that clicks and ends the search. The team that believed you nods with relief that looks like respect. They move like people who have just set down something heavy. Their gratitude is unspoken, but it stays. In another room, a safe opens with a tired whir. Inside rests a ledger that pretended to be silent and finally starts to talk. Numbers tell the truth even when tongues refuse to. A drive image is mounted, and its integrity hash reads like a signature from mathematics. No edits, no hidden partitions, no convenient gaps in power. A clean mirror that reflects the lie as a lie. The arrest team reviews once more and finds the case airtight like a jar sealed by steady hands. They choose the hour with care, the route with precision, the moment with mercy. Justice does not sprint, it arrives. You step outside and the sky feels like it has been washed. Even traffic seems to move with new courtesy around your path. Your name walks beside you rather than behind you. Friends who doubted you feel the heat of their own haste in their cheeks. They will learn that silence is sometimes wiser than an easy verdict. You give them space to grow, and that is your quiet victory. The culprit stands in front of a mirror that no longer edits their reflection. A face built on pretense meets a gaze that cannot be fooled. They finally encounter themselves without costume. The knock on their door is firm but not cruel. It carries the authority of a story returning to its rightful owner. They exhale, and the sound is the last rustle of a plan going dark. Back in the room of truth, you sign your true name on forms that restore order. Your pen moves with the steady rhythm of someone who earned this calm. Every stroke is a small ceremony of return. You remember the long nights when your pulse felt like footsteps in a hallway. You remember the way fear tried to speak in your voice. You remember that you did not let it. You collect your records and arrange them like a disciplined choir. Receipts in one folder, call logs in another, photographs labeled with care. Organization becomes a sanctuary with shelves and light. The news travels with a tone that does not seek drama. It simply states that a deception unraveled and a name was cleared. The world still loves noise, but truth prefers clarity. Opportunities begin to knock the way rain taps a roof before a bright day. Some arrive from places that once closed their doors too fast. They come back because value is not a rumor. It is a witness. Your routine returns but not as it was. It comes back taller, with boundaries that look like elegant fences. The gate swings only for what is worthy. You revisit the place in your heart where anger tried to pitch a tent. You fold the canvas, you pack the poles, and you carry the lesson instead. You leave the ground clean because you do not plan to camp there again. The person who helped you at the first turn reaches out. You answer with gratitude that fits easily in your mouth. Thank you is a bridge you will never be ashamed to build. From far away, someone who endured a similar plot hears your story. They straighten a little, they breathe a little, they choose to keep going. Your survival becomes a lantern for their road. You audit the circle around your life with the soft precision of a craftsman. Some names are invited closer, some names fade into a polite distance. You let alignment select your company. The city looks the same and somehow newly drawn. Corners you once hurried past now invite a slower step. Even the air seems to carry a kinder sentence. In quiet hours, you write the truths that saved you on a single page. They are simple, plain-clothed, and unafraid. You fold the page and keep it where you keep your keys. News of the arrest reaches the last echo of rumor. The echo shivers and stops repeating itself. It learns that unverified stories have short legs. Your sleep is no longer a negotiation. It arrives like a guest who knows the house. It leaves the room cleaner than it found it. You find the message you were meant to carry forward. Be careful whom you trust with your silence. Be faithful to the evidence that loves you back. Time, which once stretched like a wire, relaxes into a friendly ribbon. You tie it loosely around the day and let it flutter. You move through hours without needing to prove you deserve them. There is a meeting scheduled to close the loop completely. You attend with poise, listening more than you speak. Your signature appears where it should, and then the file truly rests. The system, flawed and human, still remembers how to be fair. Today it practiced, and that practice held. You witnessed it not as a victim, but as a survivor teaching the room a better posture. The last box of this chapter slides onto a shelf labeled finished. You dust your hands and choose a window with more sky. You let the next chapter arrive without fear in its luggage. Your steps no longer mimic emergency. They echo steadiness, like boots on a well-built bridge. You cross into tomorrow with the quiet of someone who has learned to carry light. When you speak of this season, your voice does not tremble. It carries the weight of what you lived without dragging chains. It blesses the listener with the possibility of their own rescue. If anything returns from the past with rough hands, you know what to do. You gather proof, you choose patience, you hold your line. You let truth walk in front of you and keep your pace beside it. You do not watch the downfall of another with hunger. You observe it with the cool lesson of a clock. Actions arrive at consequences, and the path is simple. Now you tend your garden with a new respect for fences. You water what gives back, and prune what steals light. You keep the gate, and the gate keeps you. The air tonight is not louder, it is wider. It holds enough room for relief, for plans, for laughter that forgot how to return. It remembers your name and gives it back unwrinkled. Tomorrow's calendar looks ordinary in the best way. Appointments that mean growth, tasks that mean progress, pauses that mean care. You live forward, not away. The story that began with urgency now lives as wisdom. It does not demand attention, it earns it. It does not end with noise, it ends with clarity. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. The calendar flips without ceremony, and you embrace the plain rhythm of honest days. Work returns like a river finding its old bed, steady and sure beneath your feet. You breathe easier because the air has learned your new shape. Your mornings begin with small disciplines that keep you clear. You journal the facts of your progress so memory cannot be edited by fear. You hydrate, you stretch, you step into daylight like someone who remembers both storm and shelter. People who stayed silent now search for good words. You allow apologies without forcing them, because dignity is a gate that opens inward. Respect grows in the space where punishment could have, and that choice becomes your quiet crown. A notice arrives confirming the formal closure of the matter. The language is dry, but the relief inside it is warm. You file the letter where victory belongs and move on with an uncluttered mind. The old rumor network tries to reboot and finds no power source. Its cables were cut when truth paid the bill. Silence becomes the new broadcast and everyone learns to listen again. You upgrade your boundaries from caution tape to architecture. They stand not as walls against life, but as frame and foundation for it. People who love you learn the doors and walk through them with care. Your focus shifts from defense to design. You sketch projects that align with the person you refuse to abandon. Execution becomes your language, and results answer on your behalf. The helper who first tipped you calls to share good news of their own. Their courage multiplied in secret and harvested in daylight. You celebrate them because victory that does not share its light is only half a sunrise. You review your digital habits with the patience of a craftsman. Two-factor locks, clean backups, names on every file that deserve your name. What you protect expands, and what you neglect shrinks. The place where the trap was set turns into a place of learning. You do not visit to hate it, you visit to understand it. Wisdom keeps what pain paid for and spends it on clarity. A community meeting invites you to speak for 5 minutes. You bring evidence of endurance, not evidence of rage. People hear steadiness and carry it home like practical fire. Opportunities surface that would have missed you if the storm had not raised your profile. You say yes to what fits the blueprint, and no to what only flatters. Discipline signs your contracts as a second witness. The past attempts one last negotiation through nostalgia. You answer with gratitude for lessons and a firm refusal to lease your peace. Closure is not loud, it is consistent. You invest in someone younger who reminds you of the you before the heat. Their questions are maps and you hand them better compasses. Mentorship turns your survival into infrastructure. On quiet evenings, you practice the art of nothing urgent. You watch light travel across a room and call that progress. A calm heart completes tasks faster than a frantic one ever could. The culprit's name drifts across your day like a distant ship. You do not wave and you do not sink. You remain a shoreline that knows its job is to meet water without moving. You audit your friendships in plain daylight. Shared history counts, but shared health counts more. You organize your circle the way a librarian organizes knowledge, by usefulness and truth. Your body, once braced for alarms, relearns softness without losing strength. Sleep arrives fully and leaves you gifts instead of debts. You wake with a spine that votes for you every morning. Workmates notice the way you carry pressure like a trained diver carries oxygen. You do not deny depth, you prepare for it. Projects that once intimidated you now resemble steps you already climbed. A door opens to a room you dreamed about before the storm. The handle turns easily because you are not dragging old chains through new hinges. You enter with the economy of someone who knows why they came. You establish a ritual for endings: file, archive, release. It protects you from reliving chapters that have already paid out their wisdom. Space appears where clutter once camped, and new ideas move in. The city gifts you small kindnesses that add up. A timely bus, a shorter line, a stranger's nod that seems to say you made it. You accept each one as if the day itself has manners. You take a walk along a route that used to feel dangerous to your spirit. Now the corners look like corners and not monsters. Fear asks for a seat and you point it to the exit. The old version of you would have tried to prove something here. The current version simply proceeds. Confidence takes fewer words than insecurity. You set aside time to celebrate without spectacle. A good meal, a clean space, a laugh that does not need witnesses. Private joy builds public resilience. When work tests your patience, you handle it with calibrated breath. You remember interrogation rooms that taught you how to place words precisely. Every email becomes a clear pane of glass instead of smoke. Your finances, briefly rattled by the detour, stabilize with intention. You track inflow and outflow like a captain tracks tides. Stability returns as predictably as weather in a season that knows itself. You list 3 promises to yourself and keep them like appointments. They are small, daily, and non-negotiable. Kept promises create a floor you can dance on. Someone new tries to audition for a role they have not earned. You greet them kindly and hold the boundary firmly. Access is no longer the default, alignment is. The memory of the arrest day becomes a chapter title, not the whole book. You can reference it without reliving it. Time cooperates with people who respect it. A letter arrives from someone who once doubted you and now admires you. You answer with grace because mastery does not require a scoreboard. The exchange closes a loop that needed dignity to finish. You create a small archive titled Proof of Light. It holds moments when life chose clarity on your behalf. On hard days, you visit and borrow a spark. Your work begins to carry your signature in more than ink. It carries your patience, your precision, your refusal to bend truth. People can recognize your touch without seeing your name. The season shifts again, this time without thunder. Leaves change, schedules adjust, and you move with the rhythm of someone unafraid of next. Adaptability becomes your quiet talent. A friend asks how you kept your center. You tell them you did not keep it, you built it. Foundations don't survive by accident, they survive by design. You forgive the time the storm borrowed but never owned. You take interest payments in the currency of wisdom. The ledger balances and the account closes with a smile. At work, a critical deadline lands without warning. You coordinate, delegate, and cut cleanly through confusion. Your team sees calm and finds their own. Your home becomes a place that edits out noise. Plants hold light, books hold attention, and every surface has a job. Order is not sterile, it is supportive. You schedule a day with no goals except to notice. Clouds negotiate with sunlight and arrive at a treaty of shade. You feel included in a world that does not owe you but welcomes you. The system that once tested you now consults you. Committees ask how to build better guardrails. You give answers that value fairness more than victory. Your calendar respectfully avoids the past's triggers. You do not tour old battlegrounds for entertainment. Memory is a library, not an amusement park. You craft a new introduction for yourself. It is shorter, stronger, and aligned with what you protect. People meet you faster when you stop apologizing for your shape. News of your stability travels further than news of your crisis ever did. Quiet competence spreads by word of mouth that trusts itself. You become a reference, not a spectacle. One evening, you stand by a window and see yourself reflected beside the streetlights. You look like someone who knows where the exits and the entrances are.